Kamusta grade 10? This is our second to the last topic in your Mathematics 10, and we will talk about using the distance formula in proving geometric properties. And in this video presentation, we'll discuss distance formula, midpoint formula, and how to write a coordinate proof. Before we continue, let us first recall how to plot points in Cartesian plane. Ayan. Let us locate point A located at 2, 1. Note that 2 is the x component and 1 is the y component. Yan. So, nandito si point A. And then point B is at 8, 9. There. Ayan. So, we are asked to find the distance between A and B. Now, the first thing na natatandaan natin is to create a right triangle so that we can solve for the distance of A and B using the Pythagorean theorem. Kasi observe na if we create a line segment joining point A and B, magkakaroon tayo ng hypotenuse. And before that, yan, kailangan natin gumawa ng horizontal line at saka ng vertical line. And ayan, doon sila nag-meet at point C. And what is the coordinates of point C? Okay, point C is at 8, 1. Yan. Now, my next question is, how far is A from C? Yes, 6 units. Why? You can simply count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. How about B from C? 8 units. Now, we can now create the right triangle by connecting point A and B. Yan. So, ito si right triangle natin. And we are now asked for the distance between A and B. At sabi ko nga, ang gagamitin natin ay si Pythagorean theorem. Do you still remember the formula for Pythagorean theorem? Yan, sabi ni Pythagorean theorem, hypotenuse squared is equal to the sum of the squares of the two legs. So we have x squared is equal to 6 squared plus 8 squared. 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64, and 36 plus 64 is 100. Therefore, x is equal to positive or negative 10. But since we're talking about distance, we'll take positive 10. Therefore, the distance between points A and B is equal to 10 units. So, ganun siya, kapag gagamitin natin si Pythagorean theorem. Now, tanggalin natin yung specific number. Gamit tayo ng variables. Let's say point A is at x sub 1, y sub 1, and point B is at x sub 2, y sub 2. And note that C is at x sub 2 kasi ang kapantay niya vertically ay si B, and then ang kapantay niya horizontally ay si A. That's why the coordinates of C is x sub 2 and y sub 1. Doon na papasok si distance formula. And if we're asked to find the distance between 2 points with the coordinates x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, we'll use this formula. We have the distance is equal to the square root of x squared minus, x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. Ayan. Tandaan ang distance formula, ha? Let us try to solve some examples. Ayan. Let us find the distance between points P at 1, 3 and Q at 7, 11. So, pwede nyo gamitin kahit sinong x sub 2, x sub 1, Pero, ang gagawin ko ay, this is x sub 1, y sub 1. And this is x sub 2, y sub 2. Okay? Dito na lang ako sa side. Okay, distance is equal to, sabi x sub 2, so that is 7 minus x sub 1, 1 squared, plus y sub 2, that is 11 minus 3 squared. Saan ba ito patungo? 7 minus 1 is 6 squared, plus 11 minus 3 is 8 squared. 6 squared is 36, same lang din pala kanina, ano? And 8 squared is 64. Therefore, we have square root of 100 equals 10. So, automatic will take the positive or the principal root since we are talking about the distance. So, the distance between points Q and P is 10 units. Okay? Ganun lang siya. Okay, another one. We have this x sub 1, y sub 1, and then x sub 2, y sub 2. Okay. Distance is equal to, yan, negative 3 minus 1 plus negative 1 minus negative 2 squared. So we have negative 4 squared. This is negative 1 magiging plus 2 is 1 squared. We have negative 4 times negative 4 is 16 plus 1 equals square root of 17. Yan. Pwede hindi na natin simplify using your calculators. Pwede na tayo dito, square root of 17. Okay? Ganun lang nag-work si distance formula. So, the distance between point Q and P is square root of 17 units. Yan. Now, balikan natin si points A and B. Again, we said that point A is at 2, 1 and point B is at 8, 9. And the distance between the two is 10 units. Now, andito yung midpoint niya. Pag sinabing midpoint, gitna. Point C is the midpoint. And where is point C? What is the coordinate of point C? Okay, point C is at 5, 5. Now, I want you to observe the coordinates, the numbers. How do we determine the location of the midpoint? Tingnan nyo ha, meron tayong 2 and 8 as x components, and then we'll have 5 as the x component of the midpoint. And then we have 1 and 9 as the y component, and we got 5 as the y component of the midpoint. I know you have something on your mind. Let's confirm. Ayan, the midpoint formula is given by this average. Para siyang average. So we have x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Ia-add mo si x components and then divided by 2, and then the y components divided by 2. So, ganun lang siya kadali. Example. Let us find the coordinates of the midpoint given the segment whose endpoints are below. Ayan. So, sabi dyan, i-add daw. So, the midpoint is at yung parehas x. So, 5 plus 9 divided by 2. And then y over 2. We have 5 plus 9, 14 over 2. And 16 over 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 16 divided by 2, 8 pala, is 8. Yan. Therefore, the midpoint is located at 7, 8. Alright? Another one. We have the midpoint is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2. y1 plus y2 divided by 2. We have negative 2 plus 10, 8 over 2. Ay, sorry. Mali. Erase. Yan. And y component, x plus 8 plus 6, 14 over 2. This is 4, and this is 7. So the midpoint is located at 4, 7. Okay? Now, let us go to the coordinate proof. Coordinate proof is a proof that uses figures on a coordinate plane to prove geometric properties and relation. You know, class, in mathematics, especially in geometry, hindi porket mukhang circle or mukhang square, mukhang trapezoid, mukhang parallelogram, iko-conclude na natin na ganun siya. We have to prove. Kasi nga sabi, anong tawag dito? Sabi ay never assume unless otherwise stated. So what are the steps in writing a coordinate proof? Ayan. Number 1, use the origin as vertex or center of a figure. Number 2, place at least one side of a polygon on an axis. If possible, keep the figure within the first quadrant. Kasi mas madali mag-solve kapag nasa first quadrant. Why? Kasi ang x and y components sa first quadrant ay parehas positive. Next, use coordinates that make computations simple and easy. Sometimes, using coordinates that are multiples of 2 would make the computation easier. At mas mainam din na may mga zero, may zero tayong gagamitin. Kasi mas maliit na number, mas madaling mag-compute. In some coordinate proof, the distance formula is applied. Ayan, gagamit tayo ng distance formula and the midpoint formula. Yun yung mas gamitin. So we'll have examples in a few slides. But before that, let us first name or let us have an exercises in naming coordinates na nasa Cartesian planes. Ayan. Let us try this one. This is a trapezium or polygon na walang equal sides. Walang congruent sides, rather. So, meron tayong missing yung 1. Ito. Nawawala ang coordinates nito. Ano kaya? Ano ang x niya? Siyempre, walang kapantay So, we'll use E. How about the y component? Okay, 0 lang. Since hindi naman siya tumaas. So, the coordinates of point 1 is at E0. Plus, we're using variables, ha? Next, square. Ano bang properties ng square? Yes, all sides are equal. The diagonals are, all sides are congruent. The diagonals are congruent at saka right angles, lahat ng kanyang interior angles. So, what are the missing points? We have point 1. Yan. Ano kaya ang x component ni point 1? Ito ko na lang ilalagay. Yan. Ano ang kapantay niyang x? Siyempre, ito, Kaya, 0. Ano ang kapantay niyang y? Ito. Kaya ito ay a. Yan. Next, how about point 2? Ano ang kapantay nito vertically? Si a. And then, ang kapantay niya horizontally, si 0. Okay? Next. Rectangle, sorry. Now, point 1 is at, x to? Walang ibinigay. Sige. Ang x nito ay, we'll use a. Yan. Ang y niya, ang kapantay niya, si B. And then si 2, ang a niya ay si A, ang y niya ay 0. Next, isosceles triangle. When we say isosceles triangle, the two sides are congruent. Ano, may dalawang sides na congruent. So, this is 2B and 0. Okay? Ay, sorry, 2B, not A. Bakit B? Kasi 'di ba? Ay, hindi pala. Sorry, A pala to. Mali. A nga, tama. This is A. Why A? Kasi ito ay A. Now, if this is A, this is also A. So, ilang A tayo? Dalawang A. Okay? Now, the remaining items ay screenshot nyo and then i-chat nyo sa akin kung tama yung sagutin nyo, ha? Aantayin ko yun. Check natin kung naiintindihan nyo ang pagsulat ng coordinates, okay? Yan. Sabi ni Mas, it's not enough that you say it. It's not enough that you see it. Sometimes, you still have to prove it. O sige, i-translate natin na. Hindi daw sapat na sinasabi mo lang. Hindi rin sapat na nakikita mo lang. Minsan, kailangan nating patunayan. That is why we'll have this activity. Let us prove that these geometric properties are true. And this time, we'll use coordinate proof to do that. Game? Okay. Let us prove that the diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. Patunayan daw natin na ang diagonals ng isang rectangle ay congruent. So, given tayo ni, this is rectangle ABC with diagonals AC and BD. Let us prove that AC is congruent to BD. Ayan, ito yung ating rectangle ABCD. Patunayan daw natin na si AC this ay kasing haba ni BD. And we'll use coordinate proof. Now, the first step is to create a Cartesian plane. Sorry pag hindi pantay ha. Pagbigyan na, pasensya na. Ayan. Cartesian plane. X and Y axis. Ayan. Next. Sabi kanina, kapag magdodraw daw ng figure, make sure na, or as much as possible, nasa first quadrant. Ito si first quadrant. So, dito tayo gagawa ng ating rectangle. Ayan. We have A, B, C, D. Next step is to name the coordinates. Ayan. Siyempre, si D ay nasa origin. So, ito ay 0, 0. Next, si C. Si C, since umipod yung kanyang x component, pwede tayong gumamit ng variable A. Yan. And then 0 si Y. And then si A, since hindi naman siya umipod sa x-axis, ito ay 0. And then we'll use B to denote the Y component. Next, si B, ang kapantay niya ay si C, so ito ay A. Ang kapantay niya naman sa taas ay si B. So, ito na yung coordinates ng ating figure. Next, let us now prove. Sabi, ang papatunayan daw natin ay si line segment AC is congruent to line segment BD. So, what to show? What to show? Ano yung kailangan nating ipakita? Kailangan nating ipakita na yung distance from A to C, ito, ayan, distance from A to C ay equal sa distance from B to D. And how do we do that? Yes, we'll use distance formula. Okay, let us find the distance of points A and C. Yan. X1, ang gamitin na lang natin ay, okay. So, ang gagamitin natin dito ay ito, at saka ito, ano? Sige. X2 minus X1 squared plus Y2 minus Y1 squared. A minus 0 is A and then squared plus 0 minus B is negative B squared. So, it's the same as B squared. So, ito yung distance ni D, distance from A to C. Now, let us find the distance between B to D. And this time, ito naman tayo. Yan. So, we have 0 minus A squared plus 0 minus B squared. We have negative A squared, so that is the same as A squared, plus 0 minus B is negative B, and then squared is the same as B squared. Now, observe that, yan o, parehas. So, hindi pa tayo tapos. We have to conclude. Since the distance from AC is equal to the distance of BD, therefore, line segment AC is congruent to line segment BD. Yan. Therefore, then, the diagonals, ang pangasulat, of a rectangle, nasa na? Rectangle are congruent. And then we'll have this shaded box, shaded square, to denote that the proof is done. End of proof. Okay? So, ganun. Ito ay isang halimbawa ng coordinate proof. So, madaming exercises sa inyong, wala pala nakalagay sa module nyo. If you want to have more exercises, pwede nyo akong i-PM and I'll send you some. Okay? And that's all for week 7. I'll see you on the next week 8. Thank you. Bye-bye.